I asked the question, what kind of videos would you like to see, and several people responded, and I appreciate that. The first one I'm going to do in response to that question is how to profile a knife blade. A lot of ways to do it. I'm using a 2x72 inch belt grinder or a belt sander. This is a Wilton Square Wheel is the grinder itself. They're not made anymore, not by that brand. They've sold out to Jet. Jet makes them now. If you can find them used, they last just about forever. If you don't have something like this, that's okay. You don't need something like that. You can do it on something as simple as, pardon the mess, I know it's backwards, but just a tabletop bench grinder. It's got the stones on it, not the sanding belt. You can profile on that just fine. Just takes a little bit longer. And then the other things I'm going to be using when I do grinding like this, wear a respirator, safety glasses or goggles. I wear a face shield. I've got glasses on, so sometimes one of the or other will fog up, but I like to wear both if I can, because sparks do fly and chunks do fly. Gloves, and then a little push stick, and then the piece of steel that I'm going to be using. This is a planer blade. It is a hardened planer blade, so it's a little tougher to grind on. And the planer blades, here you can see there's a stack of them. I've cut it. You can see this one's marked for cutting. And then ground off that sharp edge so we have a square piece of steel. When you're grinding, you need the tool rest to do the profiling. And you want to make sure that there's not much gap between the tool rest and the contact that you're grinding on, be it the sanding belt or the stone on your bench grinder. If there is, things can get caught in there and get thrown all over the place. It's not pleasant. This grinder moves at about 4,500 or 5,000 feet per minute. So it's not, super fast. There's some people that like faster, but it's fast enough for my deal, what I'm doing here. So let me get set up, and I'll show you how I profile a knife blade. Now, one of the things that I recommend that you do when you're first starting out, this is just a piece of steel. And again, it's hardened, so it's a little more difficult to grind. But I recommend that you draw out what you want to make. I typically don't do that because I got no clue what I want to make half the time. But you can draw it on a piece of paper, transfer it to the steel. You can draw it directly on the steel. You can use magic marker. You can use soapstone. You can use a layout fluid and then scratch into that so that you can see it. And that's what I recommend when you're starting out, and probably when you continue. If you find a design that you really like, then in order to repeat that design, you've got to draw it. This is just to show you how I profile a knife blade, so I'm not going to do that. Want to know about how long your handle's going to be, and again, it's not drawn. If I drew it, I wouldn't have this problem. So with the glove on there, I know that my handle, I want to start about here and go back, and then the blade will be on the front part there. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. It's a little noisy when I grind. Hopefully I can talk over that. I'm going to grind the front edge of the knife first. Let's see. Something I should have said too, since I don't want to change the temper on this blade, I've got a bucket of water down here that I'm going to keep it cool using that bucket of water. If you're going to heat treat the steel later, which I am not going to do, then you don't need to worry about that, but that's a step that you don't need to worry about. But basically, you're just going to grind the profile of the knife, keep it in contact with the wheel, and make it the shape that you want. Pretty simple process. So as you can see, here's the basic blade shape. Now, I could grind on the top and flatten this section a little bit to have it drop down and make a drop point blade. Or when I'm done, I can take the tool rest off and grind on the wheel like that to give it a clip point look. And this is an 8-inch wheel. You can do it on the flat surface. Comes out a little more even if you do it on the wheel like that, but tool rest is in the way for doing that. For right now, I'm just going to leave it on there, and we'll start on the handle area. Now, when you're doing the handle area especially, you want to be careful not to get into the rubber of your contact wheel here, because the rubber will peel right off. So you just got to be careful with that. I'm going to round the back of this first and then make the handle shape. Be right back. Well, let's go ahead and get started on that. Use a push stick for the areas where it's a little too close to the fingers. And as you can see, there's not a whole lot to profiling the knife blade. There's pretty much the basic shape. I'm going to leave this one straight across on the top, but that could change as I'm going. Drill holes for the pins. To drill holes on this, and I've got a video out, I use carbide bits, but even with the carbide bits I can't get through these planer blades, so I use a product called Block It. It's a heat absorbing paste. There's a few different ones on the market. Here's another one called Heat Fence, where you basically put it about where my thumb is there. You don't need to coat the whole blade, I have found out subsequent to the video I put out, but put it on there and it'll absorb heat and keep it from transferring to the blade part, because you don't want to change the temper on the blade, but I do want to soften this up a little bit, and I just do that with an oxyacetylene torch so that I can drill through that. But there's the mystery out of profiling a knife blade. Pretty simple to do, pretty easy to do. And again, you can do it on your bench grinder. You don't need a big grinder like this. You can do it on your Harbor Freight grinder. Whatever you've got, you can do it. One thing I couldn't do this with is a hacksaw right now because of the hardened steel. On a softer steel, you can absolutely do that. Thanks for watching.